Morning, good morning. Missed y'all. How have y'all been? Nice to see you again. I feel like Mr. Rogers, when he used to come in to Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, just like, hey, how is everyone? Good
And just coming off that holiday weekend. If you
holiday.
I didn't know it was a work end for me. I literally worked the whole time.
It's crazy. I was telling to, well, hey, like I said, how are you doing, everyone? Welcome to another Hidden Black's Law podcast. We're going off on a tangent right now, simply because we've been gone and missing a while, missing action, dealing with life issues.
Yeah, it comes at you fast.
Yeah, life comes at you fast. But I was talking yesterday was about the fact that the holiday is called Labor Day, and it's supposed to be a day off work for everyone to basically celebrate the fact that you work so much that everyone needs a break every now and then everybody has, which is like literally the most contradictory thing you could have possible. Call give you a holiday called Labor Day where you get off work, but good percentage of people still have to work.
It's funny as I look at it, and I was like, really, I don't know where I saw it. I saw it somewhere in print, and it was basically saying how pretty much 80% of people were still at work. Like, if you weren't a government employee, it was a strong chance that you was more or less at work on Monday.
Yeah, that's true. I can attest to that. I really don't know anybody who was off work, which is crazy because it's called Labor Day, holiday, off labor.
Kind of fun.
Decided that you should work, on Labor Day, the day off of labor. It's usually people who don't work pretty much ever, unless their schedule dictates that they be in a place where meetings are happening and the board has to has to be advised on something. They don't go to work till 10 o'clock anyway, so that's a whole nother issue.
Man, yeah, it's funny because if you try to get a service done, man, good luck to you. But there's a good chance you still gotta be up and out the house doing something. It's just the culture right now.
Get to work at 10, hold all calls till 10:30. So just to catch up on the situation. Start talking to people 10:30 to 11. 11 o'clock is when you take lunch. It might be a long lunch. Sometimes it's from 11 to 1, which is I'm not going to even tell you how I got all this information or how I even know. But 11 to 1, you get back in the office. Then you still hold calls in because you have to settle down from lunch. You don't start taking calls because you have to catch up on all the advisements that you need to take into consideration for the day from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3 you're actually maybe might be talking to people, but mostly you're just catching up and talking to the ones who you need to catch up with from that morning discussions that need to be stated, and then from 3 to 3:30 you actually do some work.
You get caught up in new work.
Yeah, you get caught up in new work, and you start taking calls around 3:30, 3:45. You're no longer taking anything from your secretary because you're about to leave for the day.
Yeah, because you out the office by 4. I mean, like 4:30.
You're leaving by 3. Like I said, by 3:43. That's why you say it's 3:45 because you're not doing anything else until you just leave, which would be between like 3:30 and 4. It's actually more between like 3:35 and 3:45. You leave by 3:50. You're pretty much gone. You're out the office. You're walking out. You're advising her on what to do with anyone who calls. If this certain individual calls, have them hit my cell phone, and then you're gone for the day. That's the day. That's literally the day. Sometimes lunch was like real long too. Sometimes lunch would be like 3 hours. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I've
Uh,
been at places. I've been at times, and let's go to lunch. 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right, cool. We go to lunch, and then that lunch to break, we're just talking for like, yeah, we did 3 hours. It's been like 1:30. They'd be like, oh man, we should get back. I'm like, maybe it sounds all right. Go back. I'm like, dang. So this is the life, huh?
yeah, man.
Nice,
Good.
very
That
nice,
girl train.
man. That life is very alluring. I can tell you that.
Uh,
Very
what
alluring.
do they say? Membership has its privileges.
Yeah, yeah, very alluring.
Speaking of privileges,
All right, let's go. You want
yeah, let's get into it.
Yep,
You
go ahead.
want to hit him with the disclaimer, shall I?
Um, this is the Hidden Blacks Law podcast. Our disclaimer that needs to be spoken every single time is that this is just for educational, informational purposes and entertainment, if possible, only. It is not legal advice. If you are seeking legal advice, it would be best to go to an attorney who deals with the legal system. Um, if you need an attorney or you think you would like to use these things, this is just for reference. It's not actually, um, we are not your counsel at this point. If you do seek counsel, go seek counsel, which would be a lawyer or a constitutional law professor or someone of that nature. Um, this is just for information and educational purposes only. I need to miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, definitely. You, Andrew, did a good job of classifying the term counsel so that it might be understood from its the full breadth instead of just advising on attorneys. But yeah, if you're dealing with the legal field and you want to go through legal channels, an attorney would be your best go-to bet in that arena.
Yeah, they study the legal system. This is a law podcast, by the way. Just
Exactly.
so you know. This is not legal. This is law. There's a big giant distinction between the two. We've stated on here very many, a multitude of times. If you would like to understand the difference between legal and lawful, there are 6-7 months worth of cast that you can go back and look into. Yeah, so
Yeah. All right. So
today we were
before we
talking
jump
about,
in, go
yeah,
ahead.
but today we're going to do a continuation of the study of the actual Constitution for the United States of America. Here I said for. Um, the Constitution for the United States of America is the document that tells the government that they are not allowed to alienate your rights. They are not allowed to overstep their bounds, which is only in business matters of the United States, and they must adhere to the fact that the people created the Constitution and created the government. The government did not create the people, so the people come before government.
All right. So yeah. And before we do that, we gotta go into our preamble to every cast. The most cited legal decision in the history of the judicial system, and that would be Hale versus Henkel from 1906. Hale versus Henkel was decided by the United States Supreme Court in 1906. The opinion of the court states the individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to incriminate him. He owes no duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond protection of his life and property. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land, common law, long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. And I guess now would be a good time, in case you've never received this information. If you've followed up on any of our casts, you have received this information, and that would be the whole idea of due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. Those things are in quotations within this reading of the breakdown of Hale versus Hinkle for very specific reasons. Jury trial versus trial by jury is the only way in which due process of law has actually been accounted for, and also being in accordance with the Constitution. Any other manner of you being in a courtroom is some other lower court policy sort of ordeal. It's not a constitutional matter at that point.
Yes, and what I would like to also say is you always have to remember that it says within accordance with the judicial system and in accordance with the Constitution. The judicial system is not part of the legal system. The Constitution is not part of the legal system. The legal system, the statutory law, as they call it, the statutory law system is the removal of, or the statutes, which are the legislative policies of government, are used as the deciding factor and not any constitution or judicial decisions. Meaning, the Constitution that is protecting you is not part of that system. So when you do anything within that system, do not expect the Constitution or law to be presented in those things. Yeah. Is why that recently the DA for Aubrey's case, where men chased him down and shot him jogging, is being charged right now because by law they have an oath of office to the Constitution. Their oath of office requires them to adhere to the Constitution. By negating his rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, they negated the Constitution, which is superior to any kind of legal system or judicial policy that they might want to enforce. By not enforcing that, now you are held liable for any kind of crimes that you commit in accordance with the with the legal system, instead of the one that you are required to listen to, which is the law. So that's why it's an oath of office violation. It's a guaranteed oath of office violation because, as you know, it's oath of office. You can't. There's no way you can say I didn't know.
Another interesting matter that's out here for public consumption that once again highlights the idea that the judicial and the legal are not like in cahoots, or they're oil and water. They separate at a basic level. Is what's going on with Texas right now, where the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 about upholding, because what people are kind of doing is they're obfuscating some of the terminology. It's not about what I agree with.
Well, you gotta make sure you use proper terminology too, because they're not upholding; they're just not going to.
Yeah, and because actually, if you read into it, there's that matter of people are calling it an abortion ban, which it's not. But now the terms of it are very dubious, if you will. But also the government can't take any action against people who participate in it. It's a long thing. I just want people to understand
it's claimed it has policies written to curtail citizens and persons. It says nothing about men and women. When you allow yourself, just like any other job, if you claim to be part of this company, don't get mad when you get held to company policy.
Yeah, and it's really funny because it's the same thing about the whole like license to practice when you're talking about the medical personnel and professionals who are actually doing the operation. So what that actually ends up, the letter of the law that they've handed down there is that companies that participate in illegal abortions will be basically punished with a punitive like fine. Like there can be no prison time, or there's no letter of the law regarding your physical body that can be taken against you if you were to subvert what they claim to be, if you were to do call illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can just throw punitive fines because it's a policy violation of the area that you're in accordance with the government there, the state government.
Yeah, they
And
can't do
I
that.
just shared a thing.
Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say I shared a thing. There's a certain zone in Texas in which all this is actually true. If you actually step outside of that zone, there's nothing they can say at all, and all that law that they have there, or all that legal policy that they have going on, is totally just thrown
You,
to the wind.
they,
You just happen to move outside the zone, and they have resources to help people do that. So I mean, it's something to look into. I don't want to get too, but yeah, if you got any more thoughts on it.
I was gonna say, you always have to try to associate yourself with what you want to be associated with. You have the, as you say, the right to contract. You have
Yeah.
a limited right to contract, so you can be a part of something. Is your decision, is no one else's. So if you choose to be a part of um, what is being done, well, that's your choice. Um, it's it's the same thing with private businesses. Now you might be doing business with, but if you decide to use other methods besides the monetary system, which is controlled by the United States of America, and say per se, now I'm not giving legal advice over here. I'm just stating, the law. If you use, say per se, the barter system, where there is no funds being transferred and the United States government is not a part of, or has no rights to, or is in no binding contract with you, then you can do whatever you need to do because it is outside their boundaries. But that's just the law. So um,
Oh man, yeah, nice. And matter of fact, I got an interesting thing I want to segue into as we but we'll get there as we read down. We've made it to the fourth article of the Constitution. So I'm sorry, I just closed my tab. Let me pull that back up
yeah,
real quick.
I have mine up right now. I'm just trying to make sure I have.
Got it.
Um,
It's funny because the only reason I accidentally closed it is because I had to pull up a reference tool that I'm going to use to discuss something that's going to be very pertinent to what we're discussing. All right, got it. So it made me go. Is this article 4 right here? I went too far. Okay, my bad. That's article 3. Great, found it. All right, I'm all set. You want me to take off into this?
yes, go ahead.
All right, Article 4, Section 1, U.S. Constitution. Um, Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public arts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be provided, and the effect thereof. Uh, any thoughts on that first section?
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory to me. I don't know if there's anything to you that would stick out that needs to be highlighted or addressed.
Well, I think there's one thing, and I thought it was interesting because if you recall, the in Oklahoma when they had that statue of the Ten Commandments that
Right,
had gone up. And I
right.
was like, man, that really brings me to the parallel of that situation, how they even allowed that to be a thing originally, because under the banner of freedom of religion, and that's a public art, so there was definitely funds allocated to putting that in front of government property, in the sight of the public, siding with one religious doctrine. I guess we don't have to go too far into that. That's very self-explanatory. I just thought it was an interesting parallel.
I was what is it? The Satanic Temple that's their name. The Satanic Temple. How you've read about it? How
Yeah,
they're
I'm well aware.
I the Satanic Temple has been using the law to help people in these times of their need, as far as abortions is concerned in Texas, where because they are doing it as the church and part of the church, that there can be no governmental stepping in because it would overstep their bounds and what they are lawfully um, able to do, which I thought was kind of crazy
Hey,
because you have the Satanic Temple being the um,
the arbiters of gay
leaders
faith.
leaders for women's rights. I just I it's just yeah.
Yeah, it's stranger than fiction out here. And actually, it's funny
Stranger.
because the Satanic Temple was actually the same organization that for the same Oklahoma statue I was just talking about. They were on the forefront of that fight of saying, "Whoa, this violates my religious freedoms." The way you got this, statue of the Ten Commandments outside of a government building using taxpayer money, and
Yes,
they're
they
not
won.
wrong.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
won that.
that statue got removed
Yeah, they got
ultimately.
removed because you cannot religious freedom is you cannot support one above all others. There is no um what's the called privilege
Yeah,
or a favoritism in law. Everyone has to be treated equal. It's called is literally equal what is it called? I can't remember what's
with
right.
protection under law,
Yes,
or
equal protection under law. That's what it is. Equal protection. It's under equal protection statute. Um, status. You have to have everyone has to uh, be able to use everything, not just a select few. That's the reason for the whole second article they call Second Amendment. Um, it falls underneath the equal protection clause. Um, the government cannot have any more firepower than the common man. So yeah, do what you want with that.
all right, all right. On to section two. We'll keep it moving.
Mhm.
Section two: the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states.
Ha, that we just said that.
Yeah, we literally just discussed that.
That's that's where the equal protection clause comes in, right there.
Exactly. That's why I think that battle will get more and more interesting as time goes on when they, start hashing out what states' rights are able to, what are the bounds, yeah, of how that can be pushed. But moving on, a person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime shall flee from who shall flee from justice and be found in another state shall, on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime.
So, as you know, criminal, it has to be a criminal act. No one can transport
Crime,
you. Yeah, it has to be yeah, actual crime,
capital C crime.
not this policy or suspicion stuff.
Yeah. Oh, a camera witnessed your automobile doing 62 and a 55. So we are penalizing your existence until you come to pay this. Like, that's not a crime.
Yeah, it's not a crime. That's why they can't get extradition for you from a different state for traffic violations because that's not an actual crime. It's a violation. A violation is a policy. You violate a policy. So that's why they never tell you violation is not a crime. They're literally two separate words. So when you go to a traffic quote unquote court, they tell you it's criminal, but
Yeah,
but at the same time they just told you it's a violation.
the
So
funniest thing about when you go to that court and go anywhere you want to, because long story, I had to be in one of those buildings not too long ago, but the court is listed as traffic and criminal, which is done on purpose because you won't make that contradistinction in your discussions with them, and since you will not, they'll treat it as such.
yes,
Yeah, so that's the long and short of that.
the law is.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, most of the law is not hidden from you. The fact that you do not choose to read it is no one's concern. That is not their. They have nothing to do with that. You have free will. At any point in time, you could have looked up the law and see that the law and the legal system are not the same. So when you do stuff within the legal system and expecting law, that is on you. No one told you to expect that. You assumed it. So
Yeah.
um, assumptions are like a-holes. Everybody has one. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that is.
So I'm assuming.
Let's
You
see.
can't.
Section 3.
Well,
New states may be admitted by the Congress into this union, but no
hold
new
on.
state.
You forgot the whole no person held.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, pause. Yeah, okay, I moved too far. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation here therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party whom such service or labor may be due. Yeah, you don't want to be a person anyway, and you can tell that this is one of those articles written with a very particular demographic in mind.
Yeah, this was back when people were held as property. You are owed. Someone is owed a debt to you. You have a contractual agreement to do work for, and because you are property at that point. This one actually has a lot to do with more so with because it falls under that whole amnesty law. It has a lot
Mm.
more to do with military than anyone else.
Yeah, because that would
You
be the
actually
first person
agree.
to describe himself.
So when you
Script.
when you I have known people who have what is it go AWOL. When you go AWOL, they will literally track you down, and it's like sort of like it's not even a bench warrant. It's more so like an active warrant for your arrest, or they're going to take you in so they can bring you back because you have made a contract to be property. Um, as a Marine, I know I was property. That's part of the contract. You are government property. I did not find out how serious they meant and were about that until I had a friend who we were at the range one day, and this was when we were at not actively working because we're always on duty as a Marine, or any kind of when you're active duty as a military. But we were not at work at that moment, and we were at the range, and shot himself in the foot. And when he shot himself in the foot, this is when it hit home how serious they are about this. He got sent to the brig and charged with a crime for destruction of government property.
Damn.
Yeah, destruction of
Yeah.
government property. That's what they charged him with, destruction of government property, because he shot himself in the foot while he wasn't on duty at the time.
Uh,
So yeah, they are that this portion of it is very serious when it comes to the judicial system. Well, not judicial, excuse me, the admiralty law jurisdiction of the United States and contracts. When you claim contracts are very serious. If you are said to be property as far as the United States of America is concerned, you are property, and you'll be held to that contract. Do not violate your contract because they will tell you about it.
y'all don't get no love of the game clause, huh?
Nah, nah, no, nope, nope, nope. I was like, dang, you getting sent to the brig? They was like, yeah, I saw the paperwork. I read the paperwork. That's the crazy part. I actually, even back then, I was reading. I read the difference between legal and lawful. It was important because you had to, as military personnel, a Marine, you have to know the distinction of where um, constitutional rights start and um, and where they end, because they don't end, and they are always superior to the legal system. And that's one thing that they made us aware of very clearly and very bluntly, as part as being a Marine, is your constitution. Upholding the Constitution comes before all. Whatever policy some governor wants to make, um, whatever non-judicial, non-constitutional statement or duty someone wants you to do is a violation of your oath to the Constitution. You have an oath to the Constitution. You don't have an oath to any government. You don't have an oath to any president. You have an oath to the Constitution, and your job is to uphold that Constitution at all costs, no matter what. So when we do everything, it's according to what the Constitution says, no one else. Now we might have duties, yes, but if those duties are in direct conflict with the Constitution, then there's no way we can do it. It's literally a chargeable offense.
Dude, oh, you didn't see the thing I had posted, did you? There was this video. It was on the Hill, and it was a Marine who was basically saying how the accountability, like the inability of the Joint Chiefs to take accountability for the way that whole scenario in Afghanistan broke down. He was basically it was crazy because he was sort of asking for revolution, and you know how that can get. He was in uniform. They ended up dismissing him, and he could have pursued his retirement and all that, but he opted out of everything because he basically said, these people, they're talking about the mental health of the troops and all this, but nothing is more harmful to the active duty people who have been out there and seen people blown up than the folks who are running the show, civilian and military, because what's his name, the defense
Secretary is never
exactly, he's a civilian.
Secretary of Defense is never actually a military individual, so that's they don't know anything about military.
Yes, but that's where someone was arguing that, this gets a little dicey because this is how military coups happen when you basically shine the light at a civilian in government that harshly, and you start to question a civilian aspect of being able to administer the military efforts. And,
we didn't. For one, there's been a lot of pushback from the United States Marine Corps, and I appreciate it, simply because a lot of people have been misled by their upbringing, by their family, and by their passion for things that are not constitutional or anything that the United States Marine Corps stands for. Overstepping your bounds. They use good initiative, bad judgment is what they call it. Good initiative, bad judgment.
And I could tell that's how they roped that other dude up I was talking about. I think I meant to tag you to that joint because it was really
interesting. Because you are talking about something that we have no standing in. We have no dog in this fight. We are for things that go against the Constitution, not things that go against, within inside the United States of America policy, government, and stuff like that. We don't enforce civilian. We don't, because that's what they are. They're citizens. We don't enforce citizens, and we're not here to protect the citizens of the United States so much as we are to protect the people of the United States. We don't step in on citizen and civilian matters because that is not what is our duty. Our duty is for constitutional matters.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you saw the video where the guy was breaking. Well, excuse me, it was an army lieutenant, I think she was, or it was either, or she was either a lieutenant or a gunnery sergeant. Uh, uh, she was explaining that we don't step in civilian matters because then that would be martial law, and the last thing you want is martial law, because if martial law says stay in your house and you decide to it says stay in your house after 8 p.m. and you decide to step out after 8 p.m., you are now an enemy of the state. It is my duty and my job, and I have all right to take care of you in any manner, in any such manner as I see
Did
fit.
see that. I did see
And,
that.
yeah, in any manner as I see fit, which includes and not limited to death. So the last thing you want is to be an enemy of the United States on American soil, because you will be treated as an enemy of the United States on American soil. So you will take full responsibility for whatever happens after that on your own, because we are not responsible. If anything happens to you, that is your fault. So be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it.
Okay. All right. Well,
Sorry to go off on a tangent like that.
say again.
Sorry to go off on a tangent like that.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Cool. All right. The second half of that article, section 3 here is the Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, and nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or of any particular state.
Basically, going back to what we just stated when we were just talking about, it goes towards everything the United States is in charge of. You have to have a vested interest. The United States of America is in charge of citizens. They have a vested interest in citizens because citizens are claiming to be subjects of the government or government property.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you have citizens doing things, it is a vested interest of the United States. So you bring them into your daily life when you are claiming to be a citizen. So anything that they do is going towards citizens.
You know what's weird about that? Because it says here, basically it's once again saying that there should be no hierarchy or ability to like have, it's basically alluding to ranks of nobility not being a thing in America. But now, of course, it kind of it's like neo serfdom. You're not granted any extra rights because your rights are as the United States. You're within the confines of being a subject to the United States.
Yeah, you don't have, as a subject to anything, you have privileges. You don't have rights.
Right.
And it's why I was going to say we can go back to the Hale versus Hinkle case where it says you can stand on your rights as a citizen, because even as a citizen, you can stand on the rights that you held as a man or woman. So you can claim those as a citizen because you are only a citizen as long as you agree to be one. So if you want to
you have unlimited right to contract, and actually, and that means you have literally unlimited right to whether you're claiming or doing away with the title of citizen, which is a status that you claim only, to the effect that you say you're in agreement with those terms.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's. I was talking to someone. I can't remember when. It was a couple of days ago. We were discussing the amount of energy and time it takes to understand the law, and I had to adjust my thought because understanding the law is not hard at all. It's completely very simple. Understanding the legal system and the legal process is difficult. Is why you have to go to law school most of the time, because understanding what is not a basis for anything but business contractual agreements is hard to equate when you understand the law and judicial policy, and excuse me, the law and not legislative
Well,
policy, but
yeah, legislative.
judicial decisions
Okay.
according to the law. Um, they're not the same. They're literally oil and water. If you want to talk about it like that, it's oil and water because you have one that is trying to do something that has nothing to do with the other.
Yeah. One is literally dealing exclusively in commerce, and the other deals with corpus,
Corpus,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah, the actual body
the
and
actual body.
physical.
They call it the body politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's one of those things that unless you go to law school per se in the United States, you will never hear it being talked about. And even if you do go to law school, it's only a section within your first year that you discuss it for like a month because it has nothing to do with what you're going to be doing in law school.
Yeah. I think I told you about the exchange I had with a lawyer when I was breaking down all of this, and she was like, "Oh, you know more about the Constitution than me." Well, I mean, yeah, we've had those talks about running into different lawyers,
Running into different attorneys, and
oh yeah, attorneys. I'm sorry, apologies. Yes.
yeah, and and their discussions. Well, you know more law than I do, so. Well, yeah, that I know that. That's not the like. It's kind of hard to have a discussion about the law with an attorney because they don't deal with the law; they deal with the legal system.
Yeah, they
So
literally don't deal in it.
they was like, oh, well, that has nothing. That's like, well, that's not my area of expertise. Can you imagine being going to an attorney and talking about the law and they'd be like, well, that's not my area of expertise. Like, what? I thought I'm so confused.
Yeah, so good luck out there. All right. In the meantime, let's wrap
Stuff
this
of all
article.
kinds.
Let's wrap up this article. So
Yeah.
Section 4 here says the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each
All right.
of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Domestic violence.
Domestic. That's the word there.
Did you say insurrection? Yeah, Steve Sam.
I want to break this one down because each portion, like I like to say, every word matters. All words
matter.
All words matter. All words matter. United States shall guarantee every. Mind you, it says United States, not the United States of America. United States shall guarantee every state in the Union a republican form of government. So, United States is not the same as the United States of America. The United States is the states themselves that collaboration to become and do business as the United States of America.
Voltron.
So, yeah, Voltron. Exactly. That's a great way of putting it. Voltron. Each line duty is to make sure that the union is upheld. That's their job, to make sure the union is upheld. So the United States, the people, is what makes the United States the United States. That's a whole nother. So it's Voltron, but broken down into the Palatines, the ones who control Voltron.
Yeah,
That's really how government works. That's how government works. The Palatines are like Hunk and all the other ones, the Palatines and that go into their lines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the people who I don't want to say to use the O word, but the
Yes.
ones who control the lions, and then the lions now manned have the ability to combine into the final form
And
being.
even as Voltron will sometimes do whatever's necessary, do what things that it thinks is necessary outside of what the Paladins tell it, because it's a thinking thing. You know, it
Yeah,
has its own movements as a collective. I would say it has its own,
has
mind as
a
a collective.
sentience.
Yes, it has its own mind as a collective. So that collective will do what it thinks is necessary sometimes. And then if it goes and does something wrong, the lines themselves will break off, or if it's hurt, lines will break off into certain sections where the people can now control what's going on.
Yeah, they can micromanage the matter until they can convene once again as a
Yes,
larger unit.
if it as is necessary. But you know what? That's actually a very good that's a very good analogy. Actually, that
Appreciate
works very well.
it.
Good job. Good job. I feel like I'm talking to my son. Because he does. When we like saying, good job. Good job. He loves saying. He'll be like, oh, thank you so much. You know, he's
Yeah,
3,
man.
so it's always funny the way he says it.
Hey,
Little
well,
dude.
he's probably got the proper line of inquiry for things that most whoever seasoned in this life have lost.
Yes, he does. His introspection and trying to get comprehension, not just understanding of what's going on, is something I love to see all the time. It's a very special thing to see someone actually obtaining knowledge. You see the light go off in their head.
Yeah.
Mind you, another thing, the drum said he loved the drum. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Super welcome, man.
It's not really a thank you, guy. Because
well,
at 10 o'clock, it's not the thing you want to hear. 10 p.m. That's not what you want to hear. But yeah.
I feel you.
Anyway, to get back into this,
my pleasure. All the same.
To get back into this, breaking down, like we said, every state in the union, a Republican form of government. Now, we talked about this many times over. Republican form of government is that I do no harm to you, you do no harm to me. We have no contractual agreement with each other. I don't need to talk to you. You don't need to talk to me. We go about our business, and that is considered the free will of the nation.
If we could only embrace that. Oh, my God. So
people like group thought because they think the United States is democracy is what gets them. The United States government is a democracy. The United States is a republic. That's
really
where they don't understand the difference between government and the states or just the people and the citizens. And you can't make just because I am it's just like military. I'll put it that way. It's just because, yes, I do work for the military and have a contractual agreement, but at the same time, I'm still a man or woman. You cannot overstep that bounds, to think I need to do something as an employee when I am still a human being.
Yeah.
There should be no conflict, but anytime you make a conflict, the human aspect takes precedent and superiority over the employee aspect.
Public v private.
Yes. What was it? And shall protect each of them against invasion. It's talking about United States. It should be protecting against invasion. That's where the equal protection stuff starts. Like this whole thing comes in equal protection. The United States of
The
America.
Republican form of government must be upheld at all.
9/11. At 9/11, it's their job to protect us against invasion. The Pearl Harbor, it's the United States of America's job to protect the United States from invasion. So why we have a military? You have to have your security force. You have to have your security, just like any business. You have security. Now, what happens a lot of times in the regular world, on the average of most low level civilians, is they allow the security force to be the police, but as the Supreme Court has stated, it is not their duty to protect anyone. That is not part of their job. It is not a requirement of the job. So, understanding that the using a security force that is not there for security, they're just to enforce the statutes that have been presented before them, is a poor way of thinking, because they will come in and enforce statutes that, unless you break those statutes or you have already been held liable for these statutes, there is no reason to call them. But if you do, that's what they will do. They will enforce those statutes. So the suspicion portion comes into play. That's why they have suspicion, and it has to be of a crime, because that's the only time they can take over. It has to be a
Mhm.
criminal act. They can't come in as just suspicion, because that is not a crime. It has no legal bounds. There is no way to say what suspicion means, so we cannot use that as a reason for doing anything. So they always like to leave out suspicion of a crime, because I always say, people, when they even on YouTube, you'll see it all the time, or videos, they'll say, we were suspicious. What's your RAS? We're here on suspicion. Well, suspicion is not an RAS. It's RASC. They forget, leave off that last part on purpose, because it would go in direct conflict of what they're trying to do. It's articulable suspicion of a crime. They leave off that crime part because it sounds better just to say articulable suspicion. Yeah, and if you don't know any better, whose fault is that? I didn't tell you just
Yeah.
don't. I didn't tell you not to know the law.
Mhm.
That's your job. You're supposed to know the law.
Well, you
Why do you
started
not know
answering questions and
it?
made yourself privy to. Oh, what do I have to read Hale versus Hinkle again?
Yeah. No inquisition.
It's not my job.
No.
It opened my door to investigation.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, everything we present here has implicit meaning and it's
All words matter.
foundational. There you go.
All words matter. And like we said at the beginning, we do not say any of this. The law says this. The law, as we're reading it, we will read the law, and then we expound on it, so there is more clarification. Is exactly what the Supreme Court does. They expound on things so that there's more clarification. They do not rewrite law. They just expound on what has already been written, because that is not their duty. They cannot write law. They cannot create law. The Supreme Court just expound on what has already been written, because these laws were, as you said, long antecedent before government.
Yes, it's just making sure that the judiciary properly outlines rights that were already yours, so that as they are not to be trampled upon.
Yes. And application of a legislator. Um, and that's the whole application of the legislator, what the Supreme Court was doing right now. Texas has policies that are in place that cannot ban, but they can make it very difficult.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you read it, it doesn't ban abortion; it just makes it extremely difficult.
It brings a lot of red tape. And matter of fact, once again, the only entities that can actually be affected for violating the abortion, and I wish they stop calling it a ban. It's restrictions. It's kind of like what China's doing with their video. With they're telling kids they can't play video games. It's a
Yes,
restriction. It to the utmost ability. Yes, it's like a soft ban, of course, but that therein lies the fact that they can't actually prevent anyone from doing it. They can injure the companies that partake in something that goes outside of the spectrum
because
of
they
the
have
rules that they outlined.
yes, they have all legal jurisdiction over commerce. They can attack the
Yeah,
businesses. They can't attack the men and women.
the people. Exactly.
So that is why you always see them attacking businesses. I don't understand why no one ever brings up the fact that you can tell that they only make policies that go toward business, um, including the president. Um, but I guess no one wants to think that deep into it. It's not really that deep to me. Um, I just think it's pretty obvious. You know, if a business is a private business and does not want to have anything to do with the government, like it's just like being FDIC insured, right? If you're not FDIC insured, I have no, um, what's it called? The government has no um, jurisdiction, or not jurisdiction. What's the word I'm looking for? Dog in a fight. What's it when they have to be a party to? Um,
See, I was gonna say liability, but that's not. I mean, it's more than that. It's
they're not a party to. They are have well, whatever. They're not a party. I'll just put it that way. They're not a party to because they have no legal say so with inside what you're doing. Because as long as you consider it business, they have commerce. They have rights over commerce. But if you stop calling it business, then they have no legal right anymore. They have no jurisdiction. They cannot make any claims toward anything that you are doing. Once you call it the business, or once you get into business aspects of it and make it business aspects of it, you bring them into the fight. And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to bring them into the fight. You don't want them, excuse me, hold on one second. You don't want to have them have jurisdiction over anything unless you allow it. That's literally what it comes down to. Allowing jurisdiction. So,
yeah, and I mean, there's sometimes where that might come to your advantage, if especially if you're some type of corporation. For people, almost never is the case.
person, if you're some type of person, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, and of course, yeah, that's a dubious term, but we all know, and that's why you gotta look out for when the courts try to classify you as a natural person, because they're trying to basically legalize your status as a man or woman, and then you start playing semantic football with them, where you're punting around their ability to interject policy into your otherwise
Oh,
life-based rights.
they're always looking to score. Every time they're always looking
Yeah,
to
they
score.
don't punt. I'm sorry, they don't punt.
Nah, they're always looking to score. They're going for a fourth from that. They're going for fourth downs. All fourth downs, they go for it.
But, yeah, so that's overall a very thorough read through of Article 4 of the Constitution for the United States. Out of the initial 10 Bill of Rights, we're making it to the halfway mark here. Article 5 is a bit of a shorter read. I'm sure we could squeeze the juice for all it's worth there. Actually, maybe I'll have to read. Yeah, that's an
I was going to
important.
say that I wanted to talk about the Elijah McCain for one
Okay.
second. Just because it is very near and dear to me. What happened to him? Simply because he was just a kid. He's 23. I call 23 a kid because there's so much to learn about the world. You really have just scratched the surface. You're
Absolutely.
just coming into your own where you can actually have a sound thought process going into life. And uh, someone, it's crazy because that young man would play music to sheltered animals because most people don't understand how music collaborates and coexists throughout nature. Even the sounds that the stuff make is a soulful sound that animals like. They are docile and become timid to when you have soulful sounds. So they used to play music to shelter animals who are already in position, just like anyone in prison. It's a tough place to be because you have no freedoms. So it's crazy that someone who would do that and gets killed walking home and gets murdered. Call it what it is, murder.
Yeah, it's
Walking
murder.
home. Simply because they were walking home. It's literally I can't even put it any other way. I have read all the reports. I have even read the whole documents of what the police union has stated and the the actual police union from the department, which is contradictory to what their own chief of police stated. Um, the contradiction is the chief of police stated on live TV that they do not agree with anything that happened to him. They are trying to get rid of the people who made it happen in the first place. All the people who think it's funny and it's a joke that human life and death is comedy to them, which is not a thing that a police force would want on their police on the force, because now you one rotten apple spoils the bunch. So they're trying to get rid of the bunch of rotten apples that they do have right now. So for the police, the actual police union from the department to make a statement to say that it is they're flabbergasted and that there is nothing that should there's everything they did was right, and there's no reason for anyone to find a problem with it. Like I said, it's in direct conflict with what their own chief of police stated. So you see the dynamic of it, where you have one person who's trying to uphold the rights of all men and women, and trying to protect, not even protect, just make sure that the citizens are not rights are not violated in the process. And then you have the people who are on the force who could care less about them, because they are more so trying to do whatever they want to do, because that is paramount. Me having a control over the population, control that I do not have.
And that's why I never understand those platitudes, man. More onto not to move because that I'm gonna ask. What was it? 3 officers and 2. Who are the other?
Paramedics. They're
And
just,
the 2
they're just
paramedics.
soldiers.
Yeah, because they administered. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's just the same thing as I was. It's the kind of matter I was discussing with the military members. Speaking out against basically leadership saying one thing and then pushing a different policy when they're not on the stage apologizing for what they're actually fermenting.
And it's those conditional policies, right? And because they make these conditional policies that are not written down, they have unwritten rules. Like they say, the thin blue line, unwritten rules. You have these unwritten rules, so you cannot tie them down to them. So when they do things according to those unwritten rules, you cannot say, "Hey, you violated this policy, you violated this law." Well, there's nothing I have written down that says I did, and there's nothing I'm claiming right now that says I do. So it's that whole um, verbal gymnastics that
Yeah,
people,
they're playing in the gray area.
yeah, the verbal gymnastics to make sure that they can do whatever they want to, as long as they don't come out and say what they're doing. It's like the best way I can put it. So people like that look like us can understand in a more clear fashion. It's like those who always say they're not racist because they don't claim to be part of the Ku Klux Klan or say I am racist. Just because you don't say those things does not make you not one of the members. You're not a card carrying member. Just because you don't have it physically card on you does not mean that you are not part of the organization. As
Yep.
long as you don't say, they really actually understand and think that as long as they don't say I am racist, that does not mean they're racist. Because just
No.
because if they don't say it out their mouth, that is all they
Yeah.
need to clarify and clear up all error, or as they call it, that you might have thoughts that they are. So no matter their actions,
Yeah, I think
no
you've
matter what
given
their
me a
actions,
new perspective.
yeah, it's that loophole. No matter what their actions are, as long as I don't come out and say it, it's okay.
Yeah, you know, you might want to call them a casual racist, but it's more like they're an off-duty Klansman. Just because they're not in unity, I mean, they don't adhere to the principles of the group.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, uh, with that, I do hope, and I am thoroughly invested in the outcome. Um, Simply because there are a number of cases that have recently come to light as being um, adjudicated, which was an issue
That's
that,
some precedent.
yeah, which was my whole issue and why it was going to be an international matter. Um, they have taken those. They have they have successfully made sure that those things are not presented internationally, because international is a lot worse than national. You know, national TV will tell you one thing, but international doesn't care what you're talking about, because that has you'll have an
Oh man,
that's a vested interest. You have a vested interest
you
in
know,
national. Internationally, they don't care because they have no vested interest. They have no vested interest in making sure that
you know,
servants continue to agree to be servants. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, but no, now you're good. Under the terms and conditions that are happening now, it's easy to politicize the United States as some sort of paragon of virtuous political activity, which is always the ultimate goal here. And it's kind of weird how right now this current administration is actually um, allowing more holes to be punched in the veil because I mean, as bad as Orange Man was, we're not in Orange Man bad time, and we're still seeing a lot of the similar tactics being enacted by governmental forces, and to the effect that I don't know if you caught this, but recently it's been demonstrated that China and the Taliban are starting an alliance. You know, kind of, you know, the whole enemy of my enemy sort of deal is happening here as we see China's influence sweeping across all the other parts of the rest of the globe.
Yeah,
Probably up until, you know, China up until about Africa right now is very strongly influenced by their policies and what they'd like to see going forward.
Africa has
So this
pushed
is
back.
making bad publicity.
Yeah, Africa has pushed back a little pushback in Africa. But as far as the rest of the globe goes, they have a sole firm hand on all matters. Um, and world powers will do what world powers do. Business will do what business does. Policy will survive as long as there are people within those in the within the employee base that will continue to carry out that policy, even if that policy is no longer enacted or even part of the business. If you have people who are willing to continue on with the former policy, there is there is no way to uh, uh, um,
Spearhead new policy, or
yes, to get new policy. And because like it's just, you got to always remember, like it says, it's a system. You cannot get rid of the system if the system is still part of your framework and your design. Just because you delete
hey,
part of the system does not mean the system is not there anymore or is not working as the system works.
nah, I'm sorry to keep harping on it, but you just keep these talking points keep bringing up aspects of this Afghanistan situation because look, U.S. Intervention was there for 20 years. As soon as you know, and they were putting all you know, allegedly all these things were in place for for a new regime to bring, you know, Afghanistan to a new governmental state. But as soon as the U.S., I mean, for several reasons, of course, obviously, but we might as well have not been there, to the effect that the Taliban is even stronger. and their presence is even stronger now that the U.S. policy and intervention stirred up a hornet's nest, and they came down swiftly. And all that to say, if the new policy is really just kind of there in appearance, all you have to do is take off the disguise, and suddenly you see what the real state of affairs are.
There's a general who was stated the other day I was reading, and it was a Marine Corps general, of course, because I love my generals. I'm not even gonna lie. We have great. We give them great nicknames like Mad Dog Mattis. That's a great nickname, Mad Dog Mattis, Chesty Puller. I love my Marine Corps generals. Um, there's an honor in them that most don't understand because they don't know what it is to be honorable. If I can work to create a process where I do not create any more enemies, then that is the best course of action. Because the last thing you want to do is create enemies trying to get rid of an enemy. Because all you're doing is strengthening them and making them stronger than what they were before you even arrived and they became your enemy. So, that do no harm is coming back to bite people.
Yeah, because the influence.
A lot of harm was done. So, it is what it is. I can't tell. I am one man. I'll put it that way. I'm one man. I cannot tell the United States of America what to do as one man. So, well, I'll leave it at that.
I will just add on to that idea, which I'm totally in agreement with. However, we, the people, can make significant alteration or other impact to the way in which these things are being maneuvered these days.
I would have to give you a little simply because 99.999% of the population does not even understand what it means to be an American, and what it means to be patriotic, what it means to be honorable. So to act in honor in accordance with the Constitution is not something the majority, the almost wholeheartedly every single person or citizen would do or understand in order to make any kind of changes. Worthwhile.
Fair enough. I would concede that. I'd concede that point. Is it within the realm of possibility? The answer is yes, but yeah, I don't know, man.
Is it way out there?
You gotta be Dr. Manhattan to see the world in which that reality exists.
Dr. Manhattan or the Watcher, because you get to see every single. Yeah, you get to see everything from the beginning to the end of every single universe, and that is. And for every decision, your decisions create an alternate reality, an alternate universe. For every decision that you make, I don't know if most would even understand that concept of string theory, but yeah, it's a very vast one. So think of it as your neurons in your nervous system. For each action that your brain think, it has an action for your limbs or whatever, and that can go many different ways. We even have involuntary ones, and so it's just one of those things. I don't understand. You'll never understand. Especially when you don't seek to. So that's most people. I'm gonna leave it at that, and I hope you enjoyed this cast. and
Yeah, I
and,
hope we gave
and
you something to think about.
had some talking points that were expounded on for you. If you had any kind of misconceptions or lack of understanding or you had no opinion on because you didn't know what to think. I'm I hope that this gave some kind of clarification for you and anyone else who might uh, you might come into contact with, so they can further have a better understanding than what they had before.
Yeah, and if nothing else, hopefully some motivation to take it upon yourself to read the Constitution and really meditate over every word it is you see there, and do the extra legwork.
Because no word was written out of place. Literally, they made sure every single word mattered. So it's why I always say all words matter. Um, do this labor of love because we want everyone to have that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, not just some people. Um, so hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Um, love y'all and continue to be outstanding, um, outstanding men and women, regardless of what um, happens in life.
Yeah, if you appreciate the material, tell a friend, share it, discuss it, and we appreciate any feedback or any involvement with what we got going on.
Subscribe to if it's on a different if it's on a platform that needs it. Subscribe. But make sure that you see these casts all the time, or even so you can go back and look at them.
Exactly, it's all archived.
Yes, all archived. Like you say, like and share. Um, but yeah, we love y'all, and hope y'all have. Oh no, I wouldn't even say hope. Have a blessed day.
All right.
All right, peace
Peace.
out.